father-in-law and son gave me a cell phone. He doesn't look at it. I don't keep it on. But they say, in an emergency. Well, when we're in an emergency, we're usually in a place that there's no service. So mountaintop, desert.
Some weird place that
This is interesting because in all the years I've known you guys, I've never, and while you're traveling, I've never heard you say that you had an emergency.
Because we handle our own emergencies.
I'm sure.
You don't need a cell phone. You need a little brains. With a cell phone, oh, I don't remember their number because it's in the cell phone. Well, no, I do remember the number because it's here, and things like that. And oh, I can't find my way. Here's a map. Look at the map. This way and this way. Map. Look at the sun. You want to know east? You want to know west? Look. Yeah. No. We've had terrible things happen to us. And we've crashed cars and well, the biggest one, we hit a deer. One of my friends gave me deer whistles to put on my car. And those are supposed to be things that you put on the front of your car to chase deer away. Well, I never had hit a deer in my life. We put the deer whistle on. We're driving through South Dakota, 6, 7 o'clock at night. Heading for Rapid City, South Dakota. Just came out of Wall Drug. And we were driving along.
Wall Drug's a great place. It's like south of the border. You got to see it. They used to have a Burma shave sign 500 miles from the town.
It was like a touristy thing.
I don't know if before your time, you don't even remember Burma shave. No. There was signs down the road that kept advertising like the message, like when you approach you ever drive to Florida, like south of the border?
Yeah, and you see they're enticing you, pulling you off.
Right.
This is going out on.
So there we are driving along in our Buick.
The Buick, yeah.
Buick. And we hit a deer. Just
Bambi and
right
friend.
out.
Those whistles.
The whistles called him right over. I never hit a deer in my life. We hit the deer and we kept going. And he says, oh, this is okay. And then all of a sudden, all the red lights went on. Everything stopped. We were done. So we were in the front folded up. The deer was, and we did not have a cell phone. But the next person that drove along said, oh my goodness. And they, who had a cell phone, called the police. 2 minutes later, the police were there. 5 minutes later, a wrecker was there. And they were so nice in South Dakota. They took us to...
I went back to Wall Drug.
Went back to Wall Drug. They said, where would you like me to take you? We said, I'll take you to a motel. It's nighttime. So we picked a motel. And he drove us to the motel, unhooked the car. And the motel owner was so sympathetic. He said, oh, this is a shame. I'll give you room for half price. I said, thank you. And he said, and tomorrow you can borrow my car, because our car was totaled, it was folded up. He said, you can borrow my car and drive into Rapid City and see if you can, because we said we're going to maybe buy a car. He said, go to the used car lot, see what you can pick up. Take my car. How far was Rapid City?
50 miles.
50 miles. I don't think they can get to New York, but this was South Dakota. And so the next day, we drove down to Rapid City, and we stopped at Rapid Motors. And it was used cars, and he said, well, I said, what do you have for cheap? We just want to finish our vacation and get home. He said, well, I just took in this old Oldsmobile. The reverse gear doesn't work very well. I said, we're not going backwards. So I said, how much? He said, $800. I said, you got it. Then we took the car back, called the tow guy, and he said, well, we said, our crashed car, because we went to his house for some reason.
Yeah.
I said, our crashed car
3 people.
is better than what you're driving. So he said, what did we sell it to him for?
$25.
Or 20, something like that.
I mailed him the...
We mailed him the registration. He kept the car. And we kept in contact with him. And he said
continued
he
on
loved the car. So we continued on
to
our
Las
vacation
Vegas.
to Vegas and California.
The trip's the thing. Car's not important.
And never parked in a reverse spot they had to
And then the reverse went out completely. And we brought it home, and just to annoy people, he kept it for a year.
I used to drive it in Manhattan.
And we learned to...
How would you achieve annoying people with that, though?
Because they said, you can't drive with no reverse. And he said, watch. It was called the Flintstones car, because when you have to back up, if it was on a little slope, you open the door into the front.
And you roll into the spot.
And you park and pull through spots so that you can pull in.
Don't pull into dead-end streets. You had to think. See, the problem with something like that is you have to think where you're going, because since you can't back up. Nobody wants to think ahead. But it was no problem. Start in Manhattan and go going for another year and a half.
And you look for the crown in the road, you could slide back.
In fact, the more annoyed people are at something I do,
The more you keep
the more I
doing
do
it.
it. But
Talk
that-
about motivation.
Yes, that's
motivation. There's not much that motivates me. People say it's great. You know, I go on a trip, I take my oldest car. They say, you can't do that. I said, watch.
And you can leave it, which we have.
Right, no heartstrings there.
No, that's the second car we left on the trip.
Yeah.
Oh no, now it's the third. Because we left our Ford Aerostar when we bought the new Ford van.
Oh yeah, took a little ride to
Missouri.
Colorado, Missouri, and then found a car I liked better.
On the road, we stopped, we were driving along, and just, look at that van, that looks really nice. We back up, and it was a guy selling 4 or 5 used cars out of the front of his building.
Lowry City, Town
Lowry
200.
City, Missouri.
Lowry City, Missouri.
Yeah.
Anyway, the old Ford Aerostar is now on his farm, and it's a deer stand.
Right, it was kind of brown, and he could sit in there and
He was
watch
going
the
to junk
deer.
it. Well, I had to pay the 2.2%
Credit card fee, because we
fee.
bought it on the credit
So I said,
card.
take the old car. That's more than cover the credit card fee.
You should have
All the
given
banks
him
are
the
closed.
deer whistle too. So he
No, the deer whistles we left with the wrecked car because that called the deer right over. That was terrible.
Well, I was going to give him a check, but the banks were closed by the time I decided. It was like 5 o'clock in the evening. So I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
take my credit card.
And the reason we sold the Ford Aerostar was he promised when it got over 300,000 miles he
I
would
was
get rid of
tired.
it. But it kept going.
It was still
and
running.
going and
I have
going.
another one. Someone gave me as
Someone gave
free
me
as a parts car.
So
And
we
a
put
year and a
that-
half ago, I drove that to
We
Alaska.
put that one on the road since we didn't need a parts car anymore. So let's see if it'll
I
drive.
can't give it away. Nobody wants it. It's so ugly.
No, it's
So I
ugly
drive
looking
it.
thing. But that's the one we took to
Maybe you'll
Alaska.
find someone else who needs a deer stand.
No, well, people have asked for the car to use as like a bumper car, to load junk in or something. So when he decides it's bad enough,
I got a bad neighborhoods. I can't go in a decent car.
right,
Getting older, you're a target.
yeah, so you can blend
If you drive up in your Mercedes and I drive up into my
Ford Aerostar.
junky car, rat rod, who are they going to target?
Yeah, they're not gonna
And I
take
go
it.
to strange
Definitely,
places
yeah.
where you want to go under the radar.
Yes.
You know, there's spots around the country that.
And do you find that the police bother you more
Yes.
in that?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, have we been stopped in every state and for every possible excuse? Well, some of them
Stuff
were
3 times. I went to
had-
Florida.
Right, 3 times on
What were you
I-90
driving?
Ford Aerostar. Same.
I think that one, yeah, one headlight was
One headlight was out, so that was right away, your headlight is out. Or then we kind of,
Headlight out, passing
a police car.
I said he was going too slow. I had to pass him. He pulled out in front of me.
And one guy said you were weaving.
Oh, yeah, then on Hilton Head.
Oh, you
No, Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island, you went through a stop sign, but you didn't. You stopped at a stop
I've
sign really
been to the
well.
library where there's one person working some strange place up in Northwest Territory, or some university.
One of the other nice libraries, another nice library that I found countless, was in Newfoundland.
Ah, you're kidding me.
And
All the way there?
all the way
Oh, yeah,
there.
we drive.
We went
You know,
to,
I don't
I
go
wanted
fishing,
to
man,
print
lobstermen
some
up there.
things.
We get up there
I
often.
wanted to print some things and go on the internet, and so we found the library in Newfoundland. And it had a feeling of this library. They were helpful, they stood up, they let me help you, let me get you this, and the facilities were, for way up there, felt like home. And one of the librarians said, oh, I have some great pictures, because we were talking about an incident. She said, I'll send them to you, and she put them on the email. And I thought that was
Do
very,
you remember
very
what
sweet.
town that was?
Stephen, something, either Saint Stephen maybe?
Saint,
Maybe
it could
Saint
have been Saint
Stephen.
Stephen. And the pictures were, you remember the pictures?
Yes, of course. It was boats that had been stranded out on the ice because Newfoundland is a fishing and seal killing state, province. And the boats had gone out on there was for sealing, I think
It was sealing.
They were looking for seals. And it iced in, and the boats, about 100 boats were frozen out in the ice. And so they finally, when the weather got a little better, and the people on their boats started.
Sent an icebreaker.
They sent an icebreaker, and he broke the ice, and the boats came single file all the way back, and she sent me those pictures. And I probably still have them, so I can probably find out it was St. Stephen. I'm looking on the email. So I can get some of the pictures. But that was kind of cool.
How long ago was it that you were there?
One was on Newfoundland trip, 10 years
In
maybe?
that particular,
I'm guessing 10 years because that's a nice round number.
probably, yeah, we took the long ferry out of Sydney,
Sydney, Nova Scotia.
and it goes to Argentia.
And then it comes back from Placentia.
Right.
And the long ferry is
These names.
17 hours.
17,
17 hours, so you just sleep in a seat with a sleeping bag, because I didn't think they had cabins, or we couldn't get a cabin or something.
Yeah.
So you just kind of hang out
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
all the other people going to Newfoundland who are very fun and hearty people. And
There's a time travel.
yeah, it was like
That's
like
100 years
100
back in
years
time.
behind time.
They still speak Elizabethan
English.
English.
The English is lovely. It's a different kind of English. Yes, my dear. Yes, my darling. And it's a lilt that sounds like Shakespeare. And each town, and they were so primitive for so long. We were in a town where everyone was named Clark. The cemetery was just Clark, and the people were Clark. And we stayed at a bed and breakfast, and they were telling us all about this place. And they got electricity in 1964. So they were very self-sufficient. And then there was a town that was French.
Sounds like a place you could have moved into, because you're self-sufficient.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We looked.
Where's that?
We could have lived there. It was kind of fun.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Yeah.
You
could get a waterfront
And
house.
you,
$1
and
million
you have a
view.
good library there, too.
Right, yeah.
50 grand. Well,
Cold,
the
though.
waterfront,
No, they have the current there. It's not that cold.
no, the let's see,
It's
the
the
Northumberland
Northumberland Straits.
Straits. The Gulf Stream goes all the way up.
Oh.
And actually, it's...
They get less
it's-
snow than we do, I think.
Even Halifax, well, where did the Royalists go after Revolutionary War? They went from New York, they went up to Halifax, Nova Scotia. The weather isn't that bad because of the coast.
I love Nova Scotia.
Yeah, well, Newfoundland has bad roads, bad food, fair scenery, wonderful people. So it was a worthwhile trip.
Yeah.